Okay, well, hello and officially welcome everyone to today's webinar. My name is Philip. I am a sales consultant here at Plunet. And today I would like to take you through a full workflow in the software, starting from a request all the way down to reporting. Plunet, we have actually been around for quite a while. Founded in 2003. We currently have over 60 employees at 3 different offices, our headquarters being in Berlin, but we also have an office in Würzburg and one in New York. And we are 100% independently owned. We only have one owner, no venture capital, no other shareholders. And we really only sell one software. So we take care of course, we develop the software ourselves, took care of all the development. We help you to analyze and consult with you all of your needs to ensure that this is the right choice for you. But we also offer integration into your IT landscape, but also hosting on our end. And of course, once we decide that Plunet is the choice for you, we'll help you get everything implemented. We'll be there to train your staff. And after all that's said and done and your life, we will not leave you hanging. You also get access to our maintenance and support team. A little bit about our customers. So we currently have over 450 customers in over 50 countries and on 6 continents, virtually all over the world, and over 50,000 users daily. Now, who are our customers? So essentially, we have them split them out in 2 groups: our language service providers, being our LSP, whether they're small, mid-size, or large companies, and Plunet can really handle any type of workflows, as simple or as complex as can be. We also work with a lot of language departments in bigger organizations, governmental institutions, NGOs, all of these. A little bit about the software itself. So currently we have over 20 integrations and modules, some of which I'll cover here in a little bit. Our UI is localized in over 13 different languages, and we are the #1 translation business management system worldwide. We pride ourselves on that, of course. But I want to show you a little bit of what we'll cover today. So you can see, kind of have it split up in 3 different rows here with 3 different colors representing the 3 portals that Plunet has. The top one being the customer portal, where your clients will be able to create and send requests, accept the quotes. They also receive their project back through that portal, but they can also run their own reports. The center one being really the core of our software. This is where all your internal staff will be working, which we will focus on today. But we also have a vendor portal for your translators, editors to log into, to see and accept their jobs, download and upload all their files, and they also will be able to run their own reports. Admin area, we will not cover as much today, but it's essentially where you would really customize and configure everything in your system, really truly make it your own, change the color, change the rights, etc. And a selection of modules that I mentioned. So quality manager to really focus, get in depth about feedback and complaint management. Our vendor registration manager, automation manager for automatic quote creation, confidentiality manager, event manager, interpreting manager to also handle the smaller side of maybe like an interpreting business, and then also a vendor search manager pro. We have a lot of integrations with the most used and most common CAT tools, and we filter them in 2 categories. The file-based integration, which is what we will cover today, but we also have a dynamic integration with the CAT tools you can see on the right side, MemSource, MemoQ, RWS, Former, SDO, and XTM. Dynamic integration meaning the systems actually connected and communicate to each other via the API. And speaking of the API, if you had another third-party software you would like to connect, and we do not offer an out-of-the-box integration, we do have the API to be able to integrate such software if that would suit your needs. But with that being said, I would like to switch over to Plunet and actually take you through a full project from start to finish. So what we'll do at first, we will log in as Paulita. He is not a real person, just an example project manager here in my demo system. And we're brought to the dashboard, essentially where you would log in as a PM. It may look a little bit busy right now. That is because I have admin rights and I have every right in the system. Based on your access right, this might look a little bit different. We can see at the top, you can hover over all these categories and really go deeper down in the software to more of your CRM section, and you can kind of already see a little workflow at the top, starting at a request, quote, order, which all projects live on order level, invoices, and then your queries, so marketing and the admin that I've already mentioned. But what we will do is we will go ahead and log in as a client. You see we're using the same page, just depending on our login, it will be brought to a different portal. So this is my example client, Starlink. You can see they're using Plunet in gray. On the right side, you have some example text that you can customize. You don't have to have it. You can also enter images or GIFs. And they can see on their dashboard everything they have going on with your company. But what we want to do today, of course, is request a new quote. And we brought to the request quote. We have 4 stages up top that we'll have to go through. First and foremost, we of course have to give this project a name. Let's just say we'll do a post Thanksgiving project. Terrible at typing today, as you can see. But they'll also be able to add a further description, a reference number, make it a rush request if need be. On the right side, they have the information about the project manager they'll be working with, and then more customizable text on the right-hand side. Of course, we'll have to give this project a due date. We'll just do it to the end of the month, or end of the year for that matter. And all these fields, you'll be able in the admin area to whether activate, deactivate, you can make them mandatory. And then when you come down to properties, these are what we call the custom created fields in a system. So these are all fields that did not exist in the system at all. You can create them on your own. You can make link fields, text fields, numeric fields, drop-down menus. So in this case, for example, they all have the option what kind of service they're requesting. You can also make them mandatory. So in this case, it'll just be a translation work, for example. And you could also add, for example, a user guide with a link, Dropbox links, for example. But now we'll, of course, also have to choose our language combinations. And you'll notice throughout the demo today that there's a lot of things that you can create on your own, customize. When it comes to customization, there's really the sky's the limit with Plunet. But today we'll use, let's say, English into French and Spanish. You can also add more language combinations if you wanted to. So let's say if we add German to it. The reason these two were already here is because the clients can choose to have certain language combinations set as default. That way they don't have to select them every single time. You can, of course, also have different source languages if you wanted to. And if the source languages have different files themselves, you could also check this box here, and the system would actually create a separate path with a folder for the different source documents to make it easier to find them later on in the project. Of course, we will need to have a file in here. So Plunet does have its own file management system. So let's just, we'll upload our file that needs to be translated here, and Plunet does not care what type of file you upload. So whether it's a Word document, a PDF, a video file, audio file, it really could be anything. So whatever you work with, Plunet can handle it. You will also have a separate folder for reference material. We'll skip this part today. We won't be needing that. And then we're brought to our summary. Check everything again. All of our entries are correct, our language combinations, and then we will go ahead and request a quote. And then see a little pop-up window come up. That is, again, customizable by you. I'll probably be saying that a lot today, but we will go ahead and log in again as Paulita. Actually, quick side note, Paulita, a little bit of a running joke here in the company. It originated from the word Projektleiter, which is German for project manager, and then name was just changed to Paul. I always think that's really interesting and funny, but we can see on our dashboard here under requests, we have 2 pending requests. One of them being the post-Thanksgiving project for our client Starlink. We have our source languages, target languages, account manager, and all these columns you'll be able to customize as well in the column settings, so you can really have whatever you want to be here. But if we jump into this, we can see our client up here, our default contact person. Of course, it has to be Elon Musk. All the information that was entered by the client. And on the right, we can see there are more properties. So I've created a property for the domain. That way I know what kind of domain this client is working in. Of course, in this case, it would be IT. You could also have one if they were referred by one of your other clients. So let's say they were referred by who else other than SpaceX. And you might be, getting the picture here that these are really just whatever you want it to be, and you can activate them at different parts in the system. We scroll down to our languages. So we can see our 3 language combinations that were selected, and the system automatically selected a price list. Essentially, there's a couple of different ways you can price things in your system. You could have one price list for all of your clients, and you simply attach them to each profile, which I'll show you really quick. If we jump into the client profile here, see all the information that you could enter about the information about the client. And another quick side note, the pages in Plunet are fairly long they keep scrolling down. But at every point in the system, you will have these little shortcuts up here, or categories if you wish. So if we want to go to prices, we'll simply click on here, and the system will scroll all the way down to price lists. And if we then look at the prices, the system automatically select it, and I'll also let you know why. So the way they're set up, on the left-hand side, you'll have your language combinations. And on the right side, you would, if you're working with fuzzies, for example, simply enter your words translation don't match, your price, and it's based off of a percentage. So then you will just choose how much of a percentage each fuzzy costs and so on. And then if the language combinations that was requested from this client are part of this list, the system will automatically select the correct list. And just to show you quickly what would happen if you were to choose a language combination that's not in the list. So let's say we want to do English into, say, Albanian. The system would then choose as standard prices. Maybe you have a backup prices for any other languages. And it would, since it's not part of our starting prices, it would choose a different one. We'll get rid of that again for today. You can see our source files that need to be translated here, but everything looks good. We want to go ahead and create the quote for this client. So we hit on create quote. And you notice up top, we jumped from request to quotes, and you'll be seeing this throughout the project today, that will keep going down the line. Essentially, the project team, a project manager, we could add more team members to this. So if I want to add myself, for example, I could do that. And then we have our 3 items here for our 3 language combinations, and we can start creating the quote. Again, a couple of different ways you could do this. Of course, you could go the manual approach. You could add more info here in the description box, and you could really just, if you maybe get a word count through Word, add, say, 5,000 words, add it this way, and then maybe also 5,000 words of editing. You can and these, again, the price units are custom created by you. You'll get, of course, a lot of them in the system already, but if you want to charge your clients in cups of coffee, slices of pizza, feel free to do so. And then the second, little bit more exciting way to create the quote will be using the file-based integration with your CAD tool. So what that would look like is if we open the item folder here, I happen to have an analysis file, an example one. So you would of course download the source document, run it through your CAD tool, get the analysis file, upload it here, and then you would simply hit Open TM Analysis. And you can see Plunet is able to read the analysis file. Not a very exciting one right here, not a lot of fuzzies. Let's see, a couple repetitions here, but we come down. Again, we have the right price list selected. And when you set up a price list with all your prices, you'll be setting up a CAD matrix as well, where essentially all you're doing is taking your, say, voice translation no match, you're flagging it with no match, your fuzzies, say 50 to 84, you're flagging it to the correct matrix here. And then the system will automatically calculate the price for each word. So we got a total of $217. And all you would have to do is copy these results to your item. And you can see we essentially have a quote created for this language combination just like that. You can also then, if you wanted to, say if we add a total here and we want to add a discount, so you could add maybe, let's say, a 10% discount, right? So you can change them still on the go as you wish. You can change the word count, the price, right? So even though you're using that analysis file, it's not like you don't have access to change anything anymore. We won't do the third one today. We'll just be good with these two. And then if we're happy with this, we of course want to send this to our customer. So if we hit on this little envelope here, we'll get another pop-up in just a second. And we have a recipient, that's our client here. And then based on our email template, everything was filled in correctly, the name. Essentially, the system is using certain flags to input information about this project. But we also have our quote attached as a PDF here. Now, keep in mind that it's just an example one. Of course, it'll be your logo up top, all your information. Hopefully, the quote will look just a little bit prettier than this one as well. Again, this is just for demonstration purposes. But if we're happy with this, we will send it to our client. And the client will have a couple different options of how to accept or reject the quote. I mean, they, of course, could also just email you back, raising the concerns or saying they want to move forward with it. You could add a link to the client portal, which is to accept or reject a quote, which is what we will do in a second here. But you could also add links, essentially, that would automatically accept or reject the quote. What we'll do in today's example is we will log in again as our customer. We can see we have our pending quote. So if we take a look at this, still the same project. Essentially, they're seeing everything that we just saw, but everything is read only, so they can't make any changes. You can see the quote that we created here for them. And they can then either reject the quote, give you a reason for it, or in this case, of course, we want to continue with the project, so we will request the order. Get a confirmation pop up here, and the project manager will, of course, get an email notification as well that the quote was accepted, but they will also see it in their dashboard once again under accepted quotes. So if we jump into that, again, we use the little categories up here to scroll down. If we come to output, we can now create the order and further move along our project, because as I mentioned earlier, all projects live on order level. You see we're now in the order. Now we can get to the exciting part of assigning our vendors, etc. But before we do that, I want to quickly ask you all a question. how much you're currently automating your process. And don't worry, all the answers are anonymous. I will share the results, but there will not be any names or any information about you or your company. Give it a minute here to give everyone a chance to vote. It really is interesting to see the results come in here in real time. See, almost everyone voted. Give it a couple more seconds here. Okay, I think the majority of the people have voted. In that case, I'll go ahead and close the poll so we can take a look at the results. You can see most of you partially automated already, but definitely room for improvement, which is great because you're at the right place. We definitely pride ourselves on automating a lot of the workflows. But moving on with our project. So we'll go to our workflows. Probably my favorite part of the system. You can see we have all of our different language combinations here, and now we can assign jobs to these projects, let's call them. There's essentially two ways we can do it. So if we come to our defaults here, we can see all of our different kind of jobs that, again, you can create and customize yourself in the system. So let's start with English into French. Let's say we need to, of course, get this document translated, and then maybe a quality check afterwards, and maybe just another revision. But let's say this is a rather large project. You'll be using 2 translators rather than 1. You could also have multiple jobs running simultaneously. So we got 2 different translation jobs running here, assign 2 different vendors to it. But rather than dragging and dropping it manually every single time, you could also create workflow templates. Essentially, all it does is take these jobs, put them in one template, and then you will just drag and drop it once. And you can see we'll have our translation editing proofreading job here, for example, an automatic delivery, which is, I'll cover that a little bit later, but really, really exciting to, again, automate your processes. So a lot of you guys might appreciate this. And you could also, of course, apply a workflow template to all language combinations at once. Say you have 30, 40, 50 language combinations. You don't have to drag and drop it every single time. You could also apply them to all language combinations at once. We probably, let's say we have a translation job, won't need our proofreading job today. Let's just say we know our translator and editors do a really good job. You could also delete a job at any time, whether the project has not started yet or is already ongoing. But let's actually jump into our first job here. So we're in our translation job. We have all of our information about this project. We have a language combination. We're looking for a translator. We have some work instructions on the right-hand side here that you can, again, create, customize, leave out completely, totally up to you. And the system has automatically pulled all the relevant price items from our quote that are related to translation into here. There's no prices attached to this yet because we, of course, have to first assign a vendor to this to know how much this project will actually cost us. So let's go ahead and do that. So we come to assignment. We can see our selection criteria here. We're looking for English into Spanish translator. You could further filter these as well. Let's say you want to have a translator that's also familiar with the particular domain this client works in. You can see it filters down to only 1. Let's get rid of that again so we have a couple more options. And then you can also rank these vendors. So let's just say we would like to have the translator that's done the most amount of jobs for this client, but at the same time will be the cheapest for us. And maybe we want to also look at their previous job feedback. You can see the more columns appear on the side here. See, Miles has done 11 jobs for this client. He will cost us $106. Looks like they all pretty much will be the same. But you can then move these around and you'll see the ranking change in lifetime, which is super, super cool. And kind of piggybacking off of that, you have a couple different ways to assign these vendors. First one being automatic assignment top ranked. Essentially what this will do is, in this case, we have 3 matching resources selected and we have a response time of 2 hours. So what the system will do is if you hit send request, it will send it to these 3 translators and Miles will be our number 1 choice. Meaning if he says yes to the job, he will immediately be assigned to it and he can start working on it. If he doesn't respond, but Justin says yes, the system will wait the 2 hours for Miles' response. If Miles says no, Justin becomes our next number 1, and so on, and it will just trickle down. And what you can also do, rather than just sending the request to them, you could edit the email before sending. So let's say you maybe want to add a little more personal note to this. In this case, it will do it to all 3 of them. So you have 3 windows that come up here. So if you maybe know them all personally, you all want to wish them a happy Thanksgiving, you could add that in the email here. Won't be doing that today for time's sake, of course. And then the second automatic assignment would be, quickly go to the next round here, the first come, first serve option. So let's say you really need to get this project going. You just want to send it to all of your resources that match. In this case, we have 18, and whoever says yes first can start working on the project. Pretty straightforward. And then the last one would be the manual assignment method. Let's say you already know who you want working on this project and you just want to assign them manually. Let's just say Justin, we want him to work on the project. We want to quickly review the pricing for him first. So if we hit this review button here, you can see our resource will be Justin, and we can then come to the price and time. We can see exactly how much he is charging, how much this project will cost us if he is doing the work for us. And let's say we want to just quickly maybe compare it to Alan here. So if we review him, we'll have him selected. We can do the same thing. We can check how much he would cost us. In this case, they're the same because it looks like they have the same charges, but you get the picture. And then let's say we're still reviewing Alan and we assign him to the job, but maybe we meant to assign Justin to the job, or maybe Alan fell sick. What would you do in that case? So you could reassign the job to somebody else, and you essentially you have 2 options. You could either create a whole new job, which would be another whole job that you see here. If maybe Alan already started working on the project, started translating a little bit, but had an emergency come up, you want to, of course, still pay him for the time that he's put in, and you just want to essentially create a new job for this project and assign it to somebody new. Or maybe you just misclicked, you meant to select Justin. We can simply create a new round, and we'll get a couple more options here to choose from. So maybe we've added specific job comments or details for Alan. We can keep them in here, or we can just restore to the original data. And the same with the prices. Say Alan had different prices than Justin. We, of course, want to restore that as well, so Justin gets paid fairly based on how much he charges. So that's what we will do. You can see we get a new round here. Essentially, if in your first round nobody responds, you can create a second round for this job to assign somebody new, and so on. Now we have no resource selected again, and we can go ahead and assign Justin to this job because that's who we want doing the work for us. And then we, of course, have to choose our editor as well. So rather than exiting out of this job and opening the editing job, you can come up here, click the little arrow button to jump to the next job. And same thing again, we'll just quickly assign somebody else. Let's just say we'll assign Miles to this. And we can see now that we have our translation job in progress for Justin, and our editing job, Miles, is assigned to it, and it's waiting for the translation job to finish. So let's go ahead and log in as Justin so you can see what it would look like for your vendors as well. You can see Justin, slightly different looking dashboard again. Justin's using Plunet and orange just to show you a couple of the different colors you can choose. And on their dashboard, they can see all the jobs they have ongoing, their invoices. We can see we have our job that's in progress for our posting theming project here for Starlink. And you can choose how much info you want them to see, whether you want them to see who the client is or not. But they can also see how much they will be getting paid. They can come to the source folder, download and see all the source documents that need to be translated. And let's just say he's already done the work. He would come to the target folder here and upload his translated document to that folder. And then we can see the work instructions here that I showed you earlier. And in this case, they're even made mandatory. You don't have to do that, but you can, to where they have to select all of these work instructions so they can come back later to you and say, hey, I didn't know I had to do a spell check, for example. They could add a delivery comment here, and then they can go ahead and deliver this. So the next person in line, the editor, can do their job. We can see a status changes to delivered up here, and this job is done. Now, rather than logging in as Miles, I want to show you the automatic delivery job and what that does. So this, if you quickly want to go back into a project that you've previously opened, just a quick side note, you could hit the little arrow button up here and you can see all the previous records that you've had open, whether it's customers, or in this case, I will look at the orders. We have a post-Thanksgiving project here. I can quickly jump back into it just like that. You can see our translation job has been delivered. Now our editing process job is in progress. We can see now in our source folder is our translated document. So Miles, I believe it was, can now go ahead and start the editing job. So what we will do is quickly just say he's done the editing job. He's uploaded his edited document. And now we would deliver this file as a project manager. So you also have the option to change the status of the job as a project manager. But what will happen once I hit delivered is this automatic job will be triggered. And what it will do is copy the documents from the target folder into the final folder. You could also have it zip it, copy it, and it will then actually automatically send it to the client, whether as an attachment via email, a download link via email, or even via their customer portal where we started this project. And it will then change the item status to approved, so that way you're able to create the invoice. And it would change all the previous job statuses to approved as well, so that way the vendors can create their own invoice, which is what I'll show you as well. So if I now deliver this editing job, you will see it automatically changes to approved. Our translation job changes to approved. Our project is approved, just missing the invoice. and the file has already been sent to the client via an email template, of course, that is again created and customized by you. And we can now come back to our project and create our invoice for this client. And again, we'll move another step further into our project. We're now in the invoice. You can see we even have a different contact person. Even though Elon Musk was a default contact person, you could also have a default contact person for invoices. So maybe it's like their accounting staff. We have our in preparation invoice. And again, similar view to when we created the quote, but we can now send this invoice to the client. Again, another customizable email template, and it has the invoice attached as a PDF. Hopefully it will look prettier, like I said, with your logo, but we can send this now to the client. And now let's quickly log in as Justin again, because we can see we have our approved job and we're asked to create the invoice for it. So you can either create single invoices, you can also create collective invoices. So if you had multiple jobs here, you could select them all and create the invoice for it like that. And they'll even have the option to add their own invoice number. Maybe they keep track of it themselves as well. They could print the invoice. If they have their own invoices, they could upload it here. In this case, they can even change the quantity of the words. It is a write setting. I, of course, don't recommend that you leave it on, but just to show you that if you wanted to have that option, you can. And now all they have to do is just submit this for approval. And your PMs just have to go into the dashboard or your accounting staff and just approve it. And then last but not least, I want to show you just a little bit on the reporting side as well. Again, whether you're logged in as a PM, a client, or a vendor, they'll all be able to create and view reports. Of course, there'll be different reports. But one example is if we come to queries, we want to run a report on our gross profit. You can see some filters on the left-hand side. If we want to filter by project category or by customer, who the account manager is. And then you can take it one step forward. If you go to additional filters, you have your properties that I told you about that are custom created by you. You can even use those to run reports. So let's say you want to run a report on your gross profit report on all of your clients that work in the IT sector that have requested translation work. You could run that report and you'll see all of your orders here. You have some information by month, with which month has been most profitable, by project category, customers, which languages, right? So you can see you can really create as many custom reports as you want. You can save them as templates. And again, you can do that under any category up here. You can do it as clients and as vendors. But with that, that would conclude today's project. I want to thank you everyone a ton for attending today, and I hope I was able to give you a little bit of a better insight of what the software is capable of, what it can do. And if you have questions or would like to get a copy of the recording, please feel free to send me an email that's on the screen right now. And with that, we'll end the recording for today and jump into the Q&A.